Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Grants and Contracts podcast. I am your co host, Lainey, and today we have a special guest, Guy Burns. I love when I get to spend an hour with him talking. So, Guy, how are you?
I am very well, Miss Laney. Thank you so much for having us on today, having me on today.
Yes. So, tell us, Guy, where you're joining us from.
I am in Hammond, Louisiana, almost exactly halfway between New Orleans and Baton Rouge.
That is so exciting. I know. So if you are just, you're gonna be hopping on. Make sure to put in the chat, your name, your company, where you're joining us from. We love when we get to see everybody and get to see where you're joining. Sometimes we have people worldwide, so that's really exciting. So today we're going to be diving in to something that we've hinted at. I feel like our last 5-10 podcasts is, which is our GCA certified capture management class. And you're probably saying, Lainey, what does Guy have to do with this? Well, Guy is our expert teacher with this class. He actually, when I took the CCM class, he was my teacher and he did such a great job. I felt like I learned so much. And so I wanted to bring him on just to explain that. And then we kind of have some up and coming certifications we want to talk about. So you want to stick around to the end of the podcast to learn about those. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Guy has a special offer for all of our listeners.
Do.
So that is going to be exciting. You want to make sure to stick around. So Guy, let's dive right in. Tell us a fun fact about yourself, kind of let everybody get to know you a little bit, and then we'll dive in.
Okay. Fun fact: I'm an adrenaline junkie. I've skydived, jet skied, snowboard, snowmobiles. I've done the world's fastest zip line over in Wales. I went to Wales specifically to do the world's fastest zip line. I've been to 30 countries, and I love to travel, and I love to do adrenaline stuff. So that's a fun thing about me.
That is so exciting. I just got to go snowmobiling for my first time earlier this year in Banff. It was really golden. British Columbia is where I went. I was flying into Banff. We had an amazing time, but it was also freezing. It was negative 17 degrees. So
yeah, no.
It was intense. They did have warmers for hands. I think if I didn't have the snowmobile was heated, if it wouldn't have been heated, I don't know if I would have made it, but it was very fun. So, Guy, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds. Where do you come from? What do you do? What'd you do professionally before you started teaching with GCA and kind of came on as a team member here?
So, long story short, you can see my submarines behind me. Right out of high school, I went into the Navy, and I spent 8 years in the Navy, served on a couple of different submarines. And when I got out, I became an electrician because I did electrical work on the submarine. So I did that for a while in the civilian world and decided I really liked being self-employed. I had been, in the Navy with so much structure. When I got out and the civilian world, I thought, I'm just going to do things on my own. So I had an electrical service and handyman business for a long time. And I was taking leadership classes to be a better, business owner. I was taking marketing and sales classes and started studying. I went to an event by a guy named Brian Tracy, and he was up on stage teaching sales. And I thought, how cool would that be? When I was in the Navy, I had done a lot of training because I was a leading first-class petty officer on my ship and on my division. And so I did a lot of training there. And I thought, I wonder how you do that. Well, I couldn't Google it. There was no Google then. I'm old, okay? You can see right here. And so I just started buying every book I could on sales, on speaking, on leadership, on communications. And I was also doing real estate investing in the 90s. And obviously when that collapsed in 2007, 2008, I was looking for something permanent to do. And I had already registered a speaking company, but I hadn't really done much with it. And so 2007, 2008 came around and I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to figure this out. And it took me about 3 years to get my speaking business off the ground. I still had my electrical service and handyman business. I had people working for me. And I knew I was put on the planet to speak and to train. And so from about 2010, I was a full-time professional speaker. I've spoken in 47 states now, and a
What
dozen
3 do you have
countries.
left?
What's that?
What?
I haven't been to South Dakota, Maine, or New Hampshire. That's the only three
Wow.
places in the country, and I've spoken on 12 different countries and 4 continents, and I just love teaching. I love helping. And in 2015, I was speaking at an event, and a lady came up to me and said, I win government contracts to do training on leadership and communication skills, things like that, but I can't do all the training. Would you be interested in training government employees? I said, well, they take enough of my money. I'd love to get some of it back. So for a couple of years, I worked with Ellen. She would win the contracts as a woman-owned business, and I would go out and do quite a bit of the training. I could work it around my other coaching clients and things like that. So it worked out really well. In 2015 and 2016, I'd probably do about 1 day of training per month for government employees, sometimes maybe 2 days, but mostly about 1 day a month. In 17, she started asking me for 2 days a month, and then a day a week, and then sometimes even more than that. So I called her. I said, Ellen, what the heck happened? You know, you used to ask me for a day a month. Now you're asking me for a day or 2 a week sometimes.
Yeah.
She said, my business is going to over triple this year. And I'm looking for some other trainers if you know anybody. And things are going really well here. I said, well, I'm a service disabled veteran owned business. You're a woman owned business. Why don't we partner up?
Yeah.
She said, sounds great. But the reason that I'm growing my business is I took a class at Government Contractors Association called the Certified Capture Manager class. I said, what the heck are those words? I had no idea what a capture manager was. So if we have any guests who are not real familiar with some of the lingo in the government, capture management is kind of a combination of business development, account management, relationship building. It's kind of all of that balled into one that would normally be into the commercial market. And so she said, I'd love to partner with you, but I want you to take the class and get certified because I don't have time to teach you everything I just learned. I'm way too busy growing. So in 2017, I took the Certified Capture Manager class and was really impressed with the heart, with the structure, with the tools that they had. And when I was wrapping up my my course, I was almost done, and I reached out to the president, Abe, which many of you have met on the podcast. And I said, Abe, I speak at events. I have coaching clients. A lot of these people should be winning government contracts. Can I refer them to you? And he said, sure, that would be great. Of course, you know, every company loves referrals. But more importantly, we're expanding and we need some more coaches. If you want to go through our coaching certification program, then we can put you through that. And then we can feed you some clients. You can coach them and help them. And you can work that around your other coaching clients and your other speaking gigs. So we did that for a couple of years. It worked out well. I was really impressed with the way that they took care of their clients and the wins that a lot of our clients were having. And then when COVID happened, the whole world kind of got weird.
Yeah, because GCA was in person. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's
they
really
had
neat.
beautiful
Yeah.
classrooms up there in Atlanta. They had meeting rooms. They had a couple of classrooms. They had offices. And I had gone up a couple of times to see the operation. And when COVID happened, they had to close their school. It was like
Yeah.
nobody could come to school.
So did you do CCM? Did you still do it online or did you travel in to do it?
Now I did, most of it was online.
Okay.
And I was in Florida. So they were kind of doing hybrid teaching. Abe was teaching the classes in person, but they had a camera set up. And so we would attend the classes virtually while he was teaching the classes live. So before COVID ever happened, GCA is cutting edge. They have always stayed ahead of technology. Abe is a technology animal. And so I was on GoToMeeting classes every week while Abe was teaching the classes live. I could ask questions. It was a really cool setup.
Yeah. I had always wondered that because I was like, that would be a lot to travel in.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was
it's
living in Tampa,
multi-sport.
so it was a 9-hour drive. So
Yeah.
no, I didn't drive it each week.
Yeah.
And so when COVID happened, I had to quit flying, which I was literally flying all over the world. I was in January of 20. I was in England. I had another trip planned for April to go back there, which obviously didn't happen because they closed all the flights in March. So Abe and I got talking, and he said, well, you've been a coach with us now for 3 years. And he said, we're growing again, and we're doing a lot more virtual trainings. Would you be interested in coming on and taking on the Certified Capture Manager class? I had been co-teaching classes for a while, and we were doing 2 CCM classes a year, or GCA was doing 2 CCM classes a year. So we looked at the structure and we said, what if we do 6 classes a year? And so that's what we started doing in 22. We went from 2 classes a year to 6 classes a year, just because people didn't want to wait for 2 or 3 or 4 months or 6 months to get the next CCM class. So it's been a very cool ride.
That is so exciting. I know, going back to COVID, I can remember that. So we had been hearing rumors about this virus that was happening, and my brother was still in high school, so played in a tournament for baseball at Disney. So we went down there, flew down there, and everything. We're down there. Disney announces they're closing on Sunday for, I think they were going to close for 2 weeks. And all of us are like, this is serious. Like, Disney does not close. Like, it didn't matter that other things were closing, but like the fact that Disney would close, we're like, this is serious. And so we got on the last flight out of Orlando, I think either Saturday night or Sunday morning, and then the world shut down.
Wow.
So everything shut down, and then we get home, we turn on, of course, we're like glued to the TV because nobody knows what's going on. We get to the TV and they say the first reported positive case of COVID just came through the Orlando airport. And we've all been in the Orlando airport and we're like, no. Like, so of course, then we start freaking out, and everyone knows what happened next. You started lysoling your groceries from Kroger pickup and everything. But that was an interesting thing, because it's not that we didn't take it seriously. We were like, okay, like, because we had went back and forth on traveling, but we couldn't get our money back. So everybody was going. We went, and then when Disney closed down, we're like, oh, like, something's going on. Like, this is intense. And then we're like, we don't want to get stuck, because they were talking about closing state borders and all of that. We're like,
Sure.
we've got to get home. Like, we want to get home as fast as possible. And so I come in to the CCM, kind of moving forward, post COVID. So I came in 2022. Now, even to this day, CCM it's virtual now. So even though I live north of Atlanta, like I would have been able to go to Atlanta for the classes. I got to do it completely virtual. So then Guy got to be my teacher, because even though at the time he was living in Nevada, I got to teach with him or learn from him. And I'll give a little hint. We've thrown around the ideas of maybe doing some more in-person classes. If people are getting into where they like to do in person. I love to do in-person learning in classes, just because I think there's a lot of rapport that goes on in the classroom, and a lot of
Absolutely.
different things. And I think too, you're more focused in a classroom. I mean, it's just the way things are. If you're at your house, you have your kids, or you have your phone blowing up, and in a classroom, I think there's just more
You're
focus.
checking email and you're doing
Yeah.
other stuff, and for an instructor, there is nothing in the world like instant feedback from an audience.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I do miss a lot. I used to speak to audiences sometimes 2,000-3,000 people, and but even an audience of 30 or 50 or 100 people, the energy, the feedback, the questions, it is a completely different world. And so going back to doing some hybrid, where we have some of our classes being done live. The place that we rented now is a lot smaller than the big school that we used to have, but we definitely have a really nice conference room where we could do training. And we are constantly listening to our students, listening to our clients, and making sure that if they want more in person, we'll do that. If they still want to do, I mean, we've got people, I've taught people taught somebody in England. He worked for Boeing, but he was over in England. And so he would get up at like 3:00 in the morning and take a CCM class. And I've had the opportunity to work with people in almost every state since we started doing the CCM class virtually.
Yeah, and we had some people in one of the classes that me and you, sometimes I help Guy, I'll teach a class or two. We had like some people from India, so they're in the middle of the night, they're
Yeah.
No, I guess it would be in the morning because we do
Yeah,
night
it's
classes.
like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few people who work for American companies, and but they live in India, and so they get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and take their CCM classes. It's been
I know. And
interesting.
one of our lovely team members who we love so much, Narissa, if you're here, hey Narissa. She's in is she in Thailand?
No, she's
No,
in Philippines.
Philippines. Sorry, Narissa. I should know that. But the same thing with her. It's like the middle of the night, early morning when she's on the class. She's on every single class. She's amazing.
Yeah, she
So
is amazing.
Guy, tell me, I want to kind of hear your experience. I know you've told us like you took the CCM course, you thought it was amazing, but like what are some things that really stood out to you in the CCM course when you were learning it? You were kind of different than me. You had government contract experience. You weren't necessarily bidding on them, but you were subcontracting them out where
Mhm.
my like I wanted to get in the GovCon space, and this was my first introduction. So like y'all are talking about all this, and I'm taking notes, and I'm like, okay, like what's going on? My head's swimming. So kind of explain a little bit about how you felt coming in to the CCM course, or even finishing it. I mean, it's a 12-week course, so you
Sure.
get a lot of information over those 12 weeks.
Well, that's a good word. A lot of information, or a good statement. It was. I was still flying. I was still speaking. I would be doing homework on a plane. I would be doing homework on a train. I would no cat in the hat here. No, I was. It was a lot. It's an incredible course. In fact, when Abe and the team, the driving tool that we use for our instruction to keep us on course, our project management tool is called the Gov Fast Track software, and it has 978 rows of information, templates, tools, things to help businesses learn to win government contracts more quickly. And when we sat down and went through this, the Gov Fast Track software was created in 2014. Some of the clients were saying that we love what you do. We love the classes you teach. We love the information that you're putting out there. We wish we had more structure. And so Abe and his team sat down, and it took them about 2 years and about 10,000 man hours. And they released the Gov Fast Track software. And it's built on Smartsheet. It looks real similar to Excel. And when they first released it, they thought, okay, now how could we create a course around this? And they looked at it and they said, well, to really do this right, it should probably take us 12 months. Well, nobody wants to wait 12 months to go through school, and try to learn everything. They want to get money now. Your businesses, you need cash flow. So they took a 12-month course and turned it into 12 weeks. So it is a lot of information. And the reality is we know that you can't do everything that is in that Smartsheet. So what we do is we teach you how to use the tools. We've got video courses. We've got online courses. We have a learning management system. And our goal is for you to not learn everything in 12 weeks, is for you to learn how to learn everything. By the time you're finished, you'll have the templates, the tools, you have your capability statements, you'll have all the information you need for your government-friendly website. And it's really designed for you to come through the class in 12 weeks and then keep connected with our GovCon community, because that's where we put tips out, we put ideas out, we suggest you jump back into the class once in a while, because things, as you know, are changing a lot. And a lot of people think that because this new administration, everything's changing. The reality is everything's always changing in government contracting.
That's true.
In about 2012, 2013, around 120,000 companies, small businesses, won government contracts. Last year in 2024, only about 70,000 small businesses won contracts.
Wow.
And that's before the current administration. You go, so why are so many people not staying in government contracting? It's because they have to try to keep up on everything. And if you don't have somebody in your corner every single day, our team members like Narissa and Althoff and Laney, and we have so many people on our team that are posting new articles and new information. We have courses, we have podcasts on what's happening in the new administration. For a small business to be out there on their own without the tools, it's really, really hard to be successful in the government space. That's why the GovCon community is so critical, is because think of LinkedIn for the government space.
Mhm.
LinkedIn has a lot of quality information on it, but it's everywhere. It's all industries. Whereas the GovCon community this is how you can be successful in the government space.
Yeah, I agree. And one of my favorite things about GovCon community, being a member of GCA, and then also kind of coming back as somebody that took the CCM, we do labs. So labs are on Wednesday, and what a lab is it's required for the course, but it's great to just jump in on a lab. And I love to see kind of like our I don't want to say older members, but our members coming back, that have been graduated 3, 4, 5 years, even maybe longer, but they're still involved because the labs, like you said, everything's constantly changing. But maybe you have questions, maybe you have stuff, and that's a great time where you get on, you have an hour, and we're working through ex- experience that is needed. So there's a marketing lab, there's a proposal lab. What are some of the other labs off
We
the
have
top of your head?
assessment lab. Is my company set up right? We have a strategy
Yeah.
lab. Which direction am I going? We have a lab on relationships. How do I find which contracting officers and small business advocates, and how do I build relationships? So that's a great thing. Even if you're not part of the CCM class, like Effie she was in your class, right? In
Yeah,
22.
she doesn't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and she still comes back to labs regularly. We have several people that they learned the information. They're out there working, but they go, I think I'm going to pop back in at least once or twice a month and catch up on what's new. And that's why the community is so powerful, is because we help each other. In fact, we have, after this call, we have something called Inner Circle. And Inner Circle is a very cool time. The president of our company, president and CEO, he's been doing this now for about 17, 18 years. He gets together with business owners. And in fact, anybody, can we let anybody that's on the call join our Inner Circle today? How do we do that? Do they have to be a community member? Yeah, they have to be, but they can join the community for free. So if you're on the call, go to GovCon, GovCon.community, join for free. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a join link, and it's free. And then scroll down to Inner Circle. And we can even send, can you get the Inner Circle link? Do you have that ability while we're talking to get the
Yeah,
Inner
I'm
Circle?
gonna send actually, so what we can do is Via said to email her. So I'm gonna put Via's email in the chat. If you want to come to Inner Circle, she's gonna send you the link back so that you can join.
And I will go ahead and put it in the chat for those of you who are available. I know some of you are on your phones, but there is the link for Inner Circle today. And it is a time where Abe gets together with business owners. They share ideas. They support each other. We have Teaming Tuesdays for people who are looking for teaming partners. We have portals where you can put that you're looking for teaming partners. So the reality is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a community, go together. And GovCon community is about helping people really understand not just the ins and outs of government contracting, but that stability. There's a huge number. There's about 600,000 companies have registered in what's called SAM.gov, or System for Award Management. So one of the things you have to do if you ever want to win a federal contract, to get awarded a contract, is you have to be registered in SAM. Over 600,000 companies have registered. Less than 260,000 have ever won a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So just over 50% of all the companies that have ever registered in SAM, because they go to YouTube or they get a white paper or they read a book and it says register in SAM. So boom, they go register in SAM. And then they wait. Well, that doesn't work. You have to understand the rules, the regulations. You have to understand how to market. And so unfortunately, a lot of people have gotten excited and registered in SAM, but then didn't know what the next step is. That's why we have the tools, the tips, the techniques, the resources, the templates that will help people win government contracts.
Yeah, so I think that's perfect to bring in kind of this next thing I want to talk about is Why is it so important to be a certified capture manager, and like how does it make and break you in the government space?
Sure, absolutely. So we all know that letters behind your name have value,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really the letters, it's the knowledge that comes with those letters. We know that a bookkeeper makes a certain amount of money, a PhD makes more money. We know that an RN, a registered nurse, makes money, but an MD, a doctor, makes more money. And they're not making more money because of the letters. They're making more money because they took the time to learn how to do something properly, how to do it well. So the CCM certification does a few things for you. The most important is it gives you the knowledge. There are so many ins and outs and rules and regulations. In fact, there is a website that the government uses. We can't access it, but government agencies can. And it's called the EPLS, Excluded Party List System. And these are companies who have bid on contracts, but didn't understand the rules, did something wrong, and now they can never win another contract. There are 147,000 companies that are on the EPLS. They wanted to win a contract. They didn't know what they were doing. They bid on a contract and they won it. And then they violated rules. They didn't stay compliant. They did something incorrectly, and they can never win another contract. So the first thing you need is knowledge. How do we build our foundation? We go through a step-by-step. It's a 12-step program. Not like for alcohol, but it's a 12-step program. And the first thing we do is we make sure that you assess where you are. Do you have the right pieces in place? Do you understand that labor laws are different in the government space than in the commercial market? So we make sure that you're prepared. It's kind of like building that foundation. If you've ever built a home or built an office building, that concrete foundation is really important. So that's what your assessment phase does. Then we have the strategy. How do you get where you want to go? There's short-term strategies. What's your fastest path to cash? What are longer-term strategies? What are your money strategies? Funding is different in the government space. So you have to understand all of those rules. Then education. We call it Governese 101. And imagine moving to Japan, but you can't speak the language, but you want to build a successful business. If you don't understand the language of government contracting, if you don't know what a BPA and an OTA and a WAWF and a GWAC and a SATOC and a MATOC and a TAA and a BAA, and if you don't know all of those things, it's going to be very, very difficult to function. So we get you through the education, and then where do you register? We make sure that you're registered in the right places. Some people try to register in so many places that they wear themselves out. So be strategic, choose the right places. Then, so that's kind of the foundation, building the basics. Then we want you to go into your, we want you to build an image or a brand that the government likes. That's the part of the class that Lainey teaches. That's her background. And so in our Certified Capture Manager class, she teaches image and branding, making sure that you look attractive to government buyers, because that's really, really important.
Yeah, not looking risky. So not showing up on this website he's talking about. The amount of times I say risky and we want to be trusted in that course, we need to count, probably say it 100 times over 2 hours.
Well, and you have to think about it. If I'm a contracting officer and I have 20 bids come in and a few of them look like they're just not quality companies, why would I even look at them? I have so many other people that look quality. So that is one of the things that we see violated a lot is companies come in without a capability statement or with a poor capability statement. And so we need to make sure that we really understand how we presenting ourselves to the government. Some of you don't even know what a capability statement is. Well, that's a concern in and of itself. You have to have quality marketing material. Your website has to have a government page. You have to know what your NAICS codes and your PSC codes and your UEI and your CAGE codes and all of the different things that you need to present yourself in a professional way that shows you speak the language. Then we go into relationship building, which is huge. And you asked me earlier, what's something that really surprised me or something I learned? I've been teaching sales now for over 20 years. And at that point, I had been teaching sales for about 12 years. And Abe said, you have to build relationships in the government space. How the heck do you do that? Isn't contracting just this big, ugly glob in DC and they send out an RFP and then you respond, and you can't build relationships with that? But Abe was very clear in helping me understand that contracting officers and large primes and other small business owners and Ostabus and Sadbuses and all of these other people are just humans, and they get up in the morning and they get stuck in traffic and they spill their coffee, and they just want to deal with a quality vendor, a quality contractor that's going to do a good job for them. And there's so many avenues that we can build relationships. That's the thing that was like,
Yeah.
one of my very first sales books I ever read was Relationship Selling back in the early 90s. And so I have always taught all about relationships, and I had no idea how it would work in the government space.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think something interesting about the relationships that I talk about, like the networking side in my class, and a lot of the networking used to be in DC, and now we call it kind of like the hub of the South, Huntsville, Alabama. And then
mhm.
I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but Space Command is moving to Alabama.
Yeah, I had
Um,
heard that.
and so I like thought about that. I was like, I'll have to mention that in the next class. But a lot of stuff, I mean, Huntsville is becoming a big hub for networking. And they do in-person events. So we say that you don't always have to go to in-person events, but if you can make it, if you're in the, DC area, greater DC area, or even Huntsville, or even, if there's any events that happen near you, because you have to think there's always going to be agencies near you. There's always going to be some type of military place near you. And if they're doing networking events, go to them.
Yeah,
Have a strategy.
yeah, yeah. Virtually every agency has an industry day each year.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that.
And your
NASA has an
city
industry
normally has
day.
one.
What's that?
Your city normally has one. So Atlanta
Yeah,
has a pretty big industry day and an airport industry day. So you have to
I,
think of those types of things. Those are all
oh,
government.
yep. Well, when I used to live in Tampa, every year in Orlando, they would have a huge industry day, and all of the cities and counties, all the way up from Tallahassee, all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, they would all come up to Orlando. And so I met government agencies, I met school districts down in Fort Myers and all of these different places. So there's so much that you can learn on how to find these, how to use them. And there are still some virtual events, and there are some hybrid events, but there's still nothing like pressing the palm, shaking the hand of somebody, looking them in the eye, and building those relationships. So that was really important in the CCM class, that relationship building. And then where do you find opportunities? And one of the biggest concerns we have when people come to us is not that they can't find enough opportunities, they find too many. There's 85,000 government agencies. There's like 36,000 cities. There's 3,000 counties. There's hundreds of agencies. They're overwhelmed. So one of the things that we help people do in the Certified Capture Manager class is pick and choose. Don't be the kid in the candy store where you're trying to grab a little bit of everything and then you can't hold on to any of it. So choose your opportunities correctly. And then how do you write proposals that are attractive?
Yeah.
What we are used to writing to a commercial company is completely different in the government space. So how do you write an appealing proposal? And then how do you perform in a way that the government likes it? How do you stay compliant, which is huge? And we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's some new compliance rules coming out this month. And then how do you close out in a way that they want to do business with you over and over again? In the commercial market, when we finish a job, we send our final invoice, they say thank you, and they pay us. We have to understand what our clients are going through. One of the most important things that we can ever do in marketing and we can ever do in customer service is to understand our clients. So one of our main clients is the end user that we are delivering our products or service to. But more importantly, one of our main clients is a contracting officer. And they get really busy at the beginning. They're working on the RFP, they're sending it out, they're getting the responses in, the proposals, they're reviewing the proposals, they award the contract, and then they take a breath. And we're delivering our product or we're delivering our service. Now it's coming up to the end of that contract. The contracting officer gets really busy again. They have a lot of responsibility. They have checklists that they have to go through. They have to report because they're spending public funds. They have to report how those funds were spent. There's a lot of things they have to do. And if we understand that we can get them that information early, we're going to become the teacher's pet. And that's one of our goals, is to understand. We teach in our marketing class somebody who didn't understand their client. What's our favorite example in the marketing class, Miss Laney?
I know it is my favorite example. I feel like I've become an expert on this situation. So sometimes in regular life, I'll be like, "Did you know about this?" But it's the whole Bud Light situation. So you probably know what we're talking about, but it's that they didn't really know their audience. They put out a campaign and they ended up losing. I don't have the number right.
27
Billion.
billion dollars.
Yes.
They had been the number one light beer for decades.
Yes. $27 billion. That lady no longer has her job, to say the least. I mean, which it's not even about the social part of it or anything like that. It's the fact that if you lose $27 billion on anything, that's not a good sales and marketing decision at all. Like, that's insane. And it's taken them years
And
now
they're
to
still, they,
build it back
they're
up.
Miller Lite and Coors Light still are 1 and 2. Modelo even passes Bud Light some years. Modelo Light is, so the point is, know your audience. When Bud Light, which is predominantly male, predominantly blue collar, when they promoted a campaign with a transgender person, and again, we could ask socially, was that responsible or not responsible? Some people might say yes, some people might say no. We can't talk about that because that's a social decision. However, financially, they have to think, who drinks our beer?
Yeah.
And it did not appeal to their audience. We're seeing the same thing with Cracker Barrel right now.
Oh,
Cracker
yeah,
Barrel,
that's a big one right now. I'm interested to see all the money that comes out because you went to Cracker Barrel because you wanted the experience. You wanted the crazy things hanging on the walls and the countryness of it.
yep.
And now it's like they've done this modern rebrand. And so I'm interested to teach that in the coming classes when we kind of have some numbers based on
Yeah,
it.
they lost in the 30 days from when they started. They started doing changes before they even announced the official rebrand. So from the end of July to the end of August, they lost. They were a $1.2 billion company, and they lost over 25% of their value. So it wasn't 27 billion like Bud Light, but still, they were a $1.2 billion company, and they lost 25%, almost a little over $270 million in market cap in a 30-day period, because they're not listening to their audience.
I teach this in the class. Those were risky decisions. Whether the team might have not thought they were risky, but if you're looking at it from an overarching thing, there's always risk with anything you do.
Sure.
There's risk. But when you are going out on a limb, and I think the rebrand was going out on a limb, but the same thing with the Bud Light situation. I think it was going out on a limb. There was some risk, and you were hoping you were going to see the upside to that risk, and you saw the downside to that risk. So
Sure.
the same way in the government market, we want to teach you to not be risky. So not that we don't want you to take chances. That's not what it's about, but that you don't look risky as a small business or as a new person coming in to the government space. And we have these strategies and these specific ways that we've learned through our students. And that's something I want Guy to talk about, is some of the crazy wins that we've seen over the course of teaching the CCM and just having this community of government contractors.
Yeah, we have had some amazing wins. One of our clients, Patricia, who was in one of our classes in September of 22, she has won 27 contracts already. Wow. She's in the same industry as me. She is a speaker on leadership, communication skills, team building, things like that. And she's already won 27 contracts since she graduated in early 23. So just over 2 years, 2.5 years now. She's won 27 contracts already. We had Jorge Rodriguez, who is the person who won the fastest big contract. Jorge came to us in 2021, fall time, September-ish of 2021, and he joined GCA and was asking questions. Where I want to sell products. He is a service-disabled veteran. He was in the Army, and he was in the medical corps in the Army. And he said, I understand a lot about medical products, so I would like to offer those to government agencies, to the VA and to hospital systems and things like that. And so we told him, well, one of the first things you want to do is get your supply chain in place. If you're going to be trying to sell scrubs and x-ray machines and wheelchairs and hospital beds and syringes to an agency, they're going to want to know where you're getting them. So you can't put in a proposal and then say, well, I'll find them once I get the bid. And that doesn't work that way. So that would look risky. So one of the first things we told him to do is build your supply chain. So he spent about 4 or 5 months reaching out to suppliers, getting credit lines set up. And then in February of 22, he took the Certified Capture Manager course. And he was our most inspirational person. We have a lot of fun in our classes. We laugh and we cheer each other on, and we have quizzes and we're competitive, but we're serious about what we're doing. And at the end of the class, all the staff and students vote on who they just thought played full out, who brought it, who worked hard, who helped others. And Jorge was our most inspirational person. And so the class started in February 22. He graduated in May of 22. And in June, he saw an opportunity. He reached out to Abe and said, hey, can you coach me over the next several months as I'm bidding on these opportunities? So Abe and the team sat down with him. They helped him write the proposal. And in July of 23, when he graduated, or July of 22, when he graduated, he got part of a $50 million IDIQ contract.
Wow.
And when I told that story in the past, some people ask me and say, wait a minute, how can a brand new startup company get a $50 million contract? That's where that understanding the language of government contracting comes in. An IDIQ contract stands for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So we're not sure how much we're going to need, and we're not sure when we're going to need it. But here's some things to know about an IDIQ. They're almost always multiple year. So this one was a 5-year contract, and they're almost always multiple vendor. So there were 4 vendors, Jorge and 3 other vendors. So let's break some numbers down. It was a $50 million contract. 5 years is $10 million a year. 4 vendors is on average about $2.5 million per vendor. And depending on what they're offering and how good a job they do delivering, one might get 3 or 4 million and one might only get $1.5 million. But last time I talked to Jorge, he was doing about $200,000 to $250,000 a month in billing. And he hit that point at the 12, he hit $200,000 a month at the 12-month point after he started that contract. So for a startup company to come in and go from 0 to $200,000 a month in billing, that was a pretty exciting story for us.
Oh yeah, no, that's an amazing story. I love when we get to hear all of our stories about clients. The last client I kind of want to talk about is Harold. Do you know Harold's story?
I do. Harold was actually in our September class. He was in the same class as Patricia Morgan, who got 27 contracts. Now, Harold was a good-sized company already. Most of our clients are $1 million or under. Probably 80 to 85% of our clients are doing $1 million or less. A pretty good chunk of them are new startups in the government space or newer companies. And so Harold's company was already doing $11 million a month or a year, $11 million a year. So that's still a small business in the government space. In the IT services, you're still a small business until you're doing 34.5 million a year. So he was a small business, but a solid infrastructure. And he took the class in September of 22, graduated in January of 23. And he said, I want to go after something substantial. He said, I've got the resources. He started coaching with Abe. Abe started working with him, and they found an opportunity for the state of Illinois. And what the state did is they reached out to all the cities and counties and said, instead of each of you writing RFPs, getting proposals, awarding contracts, what we'll do here at the state is you send us all of your needs. Send us everything you might need for a year in IT services, hardware, software, cybersecurity, program management, whatever it is, you send all of your needs to us. Send it as a wish list. We know you won't buy all of it every year, but if you had the money, what would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
So they all sent their list to the state. Now, Harold was born in India, and so he's a minority-owned business. And in Illinois, that's what's called their Business Enterprise Program, BEP. And this was a set aside for minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned. It wasn't just available to big companies. It was available to small businesses, small to medium businesses. So Harold went through it, sat down with Abe, and they looked at what type of partners they would need, what type of subcontractors they would need. And they wrote a proposal. It was a 10-year contract. And Harold submitted a proposal to the state that said, if you bought everything you needed, everything you wanted on this list, it would be $86 million a year. And Harold won that contract.
For 10 years.
Million for 10 years. Now, they told him up front, agencies, cities, and counties don't have all the money they want. This is a wish list. Most years, it's going to be about 20 to 30%. And in his first year, it was 16 million. It was just under 20%. Year two, they're almost at 30 million. And this isn't all Harold's. Harold has a teaming partner. He has a couple of subcontractors. But this group of people came together. Harold knew nothing about government contracting. And less than 12 months ahead, he took the class in September of 22. In August of 23, he won a contract worth up to $860 million, probably about 250 to 300 million. But still, most of us can live on 250 to 300 million dollars. So, and he's just a quality human being, just a great guy. All of them are.
That is so amazing. I love hearing about all of this. And guys, so, we've talked about Capture Manager, this course, this course, we really recommend it. I mean, it's for growth. Like we said, it also shows that you're just not a risky person in the government. So having those letters behind your name shows that you know what you're looking about. You're getting a great community. There's a lot of things, but then as we talked about, there's always changing. So we're always updating our classes. So I don't want you to think that even if you come to a class that you've been to before, I mean, I've sat through many CCMs, and I'm always learning something new because there's always something that, I mean, like we just said, Space Command getting moved to Alabama. Like, we're always just having to keep up to date with everything because stuff changes so much. There's a huge change you've been prepared for like 2 years, but that's coming. No, 3 years, because I remember hearing about this when I was taking the CCM, like, I need to get prepared for this.
Yep.
What is it? What's happening that's big it's supposed to be at the end of this month. We're going to see if it's going to actually come. It's going to happen at the end of this month.
Well, and the Army Corps of Engineers is committed to putting out at least one proposal in September with CMMC requirements. What that means is cybersecurity maturity model certification. I know it's a mouthful, but starting in 2016, the DoD said we have to secure our DIB, which is called Defense Industry Base. All of the contractors that provide products or services to the military. So DoD is taking the lead, although all the agencies are going to follow. So what happened is in 16, they started talking about how can we make sure that vendors that work for us are in a secure cyber environment. Now, they already had something that people self-certified that said, yes, we are in a secure environment. Yes, we have a firewall. Yes, we have two-factor authentication, but nobody verified it. And information kept leaking out. The biggest one that was kind of the catalyst was the F-35 aircraft. When the F-35 aircraft came back out in the early 2000s, 2010s, when it first came out, within 3 years, China had the J-31, and it's almost an identical plane. We spent billions of dollars designing that, and all of the information was out there way too quick. So in 2019, the DoD officially put out a sources sought. For those of you who are not sure what a sources sought is, when the military wants to wants to find out, or any agency wants to find out, is there somebody out here that can do this? We're not exactly sure. It's not a known entity. It's something kind of new. So they put it out and said, who thinks they have the ability to make sure that vendors have quality cybersecurity on their systems so that foreign agencies, bad actors, hackers don't get our sensitive information? So no single company came together and said, we can do this. No, it was too big of a task. So several really large players in the government space came together, and they formed something called the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification Accreditation Body, or the CMMC AB. And they laid out a plan on what we'll put companies through. We'll create a test, we'll create a certification of companies that can certify other companies. And so it was very convoluted. It wasn't really well put together. And the goal was, it launched on January 1st of 2020, or 2021, no, 2020, January 1st of 2020. And it was called CMMC AB. And for over 2 years, they muddled along. It was murky. There was no clearly defined goals. And the DoD had wanted by 23 for them to already start having cybersecurity certifications in place. In November of 22, the DoD said, if you don't get your crap together, we are going to fire you. So they completely rebuilt it, rebranded as Cyber AB, and they still use the CMMC certification. And they streamlined it, they cleaned it up. And late last year, the DoD approved 32 CFR, which again, all of this doesn't mean that much to you. Just realize that they're moving closer and closer. This month, 48 CFR will be finalized. And if you want to win contracts with the Department of Defense, you're going to have to prove that you're in a secure cyber environment. So we are doing classes on that. We're building a network of people that we trust to help you with that. And initially, it's going to be just the DoD for about the first year and a half. And then by 2030, maybe 2032 or 2033, all government agencies are going to require that you have a secure cyber environment. Because what happens is hackers don't try to get into the government sites. I mean, they do, but they know it's going to be pretty hard. But getting into your site or my site where you don't have very good cybersecurity, they can get in. And then if you have a government contract, they do what's called swimming upstream. So one of the most important things that you're going to need to learn is, how do I make sure I'm a secure cyber environment? And that's one of the things that we also teach in the CCM class, Certified Capture Manager class. But also, if you come to our website, our community, we keep you up to date on all the rules, the regulations, things like that. So as Lainey said, having that CCM is a credibility statement, just like a doctor, just like a CPA. It's important to have those letters after your name. And as we mentioned earlier, you get knowledge, you build relationships, and you get credibility. When you have all three of those together, it really is that winning combination that can help you win those government contracts that you deserve.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining all of that, Guy. It's a lot to take in, but it's something, that's why we want to break it down. And I would say that you're going to, once we start really seeing this released, you're going to start teaching more of it in CCM course for the CMMC, or no, you think that this will be maybe like another course that we do outside?
So what we have we'll be doing both. So we in week 10, we have an hour of CCM. And what that does is it familiarizes you with it. We also will have the resources for you. We're partnering with companies. We're vetting companies right now that can make it financially feasible for you to do and still help you understand it. Because it is, if you're not a cybersecurity expert, there's a lot to it. And then we also are partnered with a couple of companies that do courses specifically on CMMC. So the reality is, GovCon community, as we said, it is the LinkedIn of the government space. If there's something happening in the government space and you need to know about it, that's where you want to go.
That's amazing. So I'm really excited for that. So, kind of just wrapping up today, what is one piece of advice maybe you would give people coming into the GovCon space? Maybe if they're really wanting to break through, they're at a standstill. What advice would you give them?
Understand how to build relationships in the government market. Of everything that we teach, relationship building is the most important. How do you find a contracting officer? What are you allowed to communicate with them? What are you not allowed to say? What are you not allowed to ask? How do you find a large prime? Why would they want to work with you? How do you find Ostaboos? There's agencies out there that want to help small businesses. How do you find them? So it really is, and there's a lot to know, but it all boils down to just about everything else in life. It's all about relationships.
I agree. That is a great piece of advice. Thank you so much. And so now, our listeners, if you're still on, thank you for being on. But we have a special offer for you. You know, we've talked about this CCM course. We think it's the bread and butter. Both me and Guy have been through it. Now we help teach the course. But if somebody's wanting to get more involved with the course, or even kind of just learn a little bit about how to get some more information, what do they need to do? And then we have a course that's starting very, very soon as well. I think it's in
2 weeks from tomorrow.
15 days. Yeah. So
Yeah,
2 weeks from
yep.
tomorrow.
Yep, it is. It starts on the 18th. It is a group of people we'll be going through. We usually keep the classes about 6 to 10 people. We don't want them real big. We want to spend individual time with our students. And so the cool thing right now is anybody who signs up at least 2 weeks in advance, or in this case by Friday or even Monday, we could make a little exception if they're on the podcast here today and just learning about it. There's 2 things that they get that's special. One of them special just for the podcast is we have a 12-hour video series that builds the foundation. So a lot of people come into the class knowing nothing. They don't know about a lot of those words that I've said, OTAs and BPAs and TAAs and a lot of GWACs and all that stuff. So we are offering, it's a $1997 course. It's on our website. If they wanted to buy it, it's $1,997. We're throwing that in absolutely free. Mm-hmm. Now, also, anybody who joins now, we have a program called Procurement Readiness Educational Program. It is a self-paced course, and it can be done either before or after the CCM course, and it goes much deeper into a lot of the hands-on. In the CCM course, we are approved by the state of Georgia as a university, and so there's certain points we have to teach you. We have to prove to the state that we're giving a quality education. So in the course, you learn a lot of rules, regulations, things like that. But there's still some things hands-on that you should do. So we're offering right now, the CCM course is $6,000. The prep course is $3,000. And the GovWin video series that we're offering is $2,000. So if you bought all of those separately, and that's if you're a member of the community, it would be $11,000. We're doing all of that just for the price of the CCM class. And we even have a bunch of special financing. We in-house finance. We have a third-party company that finances educational for vocational schools, things like that. So money should not be the reason somebody doesn't join this course. If they want to learn to win government contracts, the next step is to get on my calendar. I'm the VP of training, so I can do cool things like that. And get on my calendar. Miss Laney has put it out there for you. Feel free to click on that. You'll get to my calendar invite. I would love to chat with you over the next several days and see if CCM's not quite right. Maybe prep is right. Maybe you just need a video series. Maybe you just need to join the community. But the reality is, getting into government contracting on your own without help is incredibly difficult.
Agreed. It is, like I said, this course completely changed the trajectory of not only my career, but it changed of how I looked at the GovCon space, because I came in not knowing a lot. So if you're kind of in the situation as me, or like I said, Guy's in a completely different situation. He came into CCM. He had already worked on contracts, but he was learning so much more about the procurement side of it, not just working on contracts. For all of our guests, even if you're watching playback, I'm going to put the link down below in the description. according to when you're watching, the September 18th might already be past, but we always have upcoming CCM. So still check out this link, get
Yep.
on Guy's calendar, chat with Guy and see what the different options are. And we would love to have you in the course. I will get to teach you a few weeks. Guy is going to get to teach you. And we would love for you to just come be a part of our community. We have this GovCon space. We our biggest thing, guys talked about relationships, but creating relationships with each other in GovCon, whether that's partnering with each other for opportunities, if it's partnering with each other like we talked about with Inner Circle, which we've sent a link to each of your emails if you were registered. If not, send us a email at info@govcontractors and we'll get you that link. info@govcontractors.org. Sorry, want to make sure I say that correctly. But just problem solving together, talking about things. We're all going through the same situation, even no matter if it's admin, if it's procurement, if it's proposal writing, pricing, we're all going through the same thing. So having people that you can really lean on and support with each other.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a blast, Miss Laney.
Yes. Thank you so much, Guy, for coming on. I hope I get to have you on again in the future. Any closing comments for our audience? Anything you would like to kind of leave them with before we head out for the week?
I said it earlier. If you want to go fast, go by yourself, but you might make a lot of mistakes. If you want to go far, go together. Join the community. At some level, we have levels from $49 a month to $15,000 a month. There's something we can do to help you. You're only one contract away from living your dream.
Yep, and you were only one grant away. Make sure to join us next week where we have a podcast every Wednesday. It is actually going to be on OTAs. So Guy mentioned that. That's called Other Transaction Authorities, and it's just another way that you can win contracts, and it's kind of a secret back alleyway. I love
It is.
OTAs. So
they don't have
I
to
can't
follow
wait
the
to dive.
FAR rules. It is very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Don't miss it.
Have done some I got to kind of do some backways with OTAs, and I think they're really exciting. And me and Abe are really excited to talk about it next week. So thank you, Guy, and thank you all of our visitors. We'll see you later. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.